we'll see.
All right, we are back again with a impromptu episode. Seahawks v Niners. Seahawks are at Levi Stadium this weekend. It's going to be a good matchup, I think. There's a lot of history between these two teams.
hmm There's definitely a lot of history. Maybe not as of last year, but I think this is the first time we mentioned this in the responsible bet. But it's the first time in a while that it's going to be a very meaningful game.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. So last year, Niners season was kind of derailed by injuries. Seahawks won both pretty handily. The second game was a little closer, but
hmm
they weren't really competing for the same thing at that point. Uh, yeah, this will be interesting. I mean, as a Seahawks fan, coming off last week was brutal. Coming off the last 2 weeks were brutal. Titans game was just a collapse. We should have won. Vikings game, we just kind of got dominated on defense, and then the offense really never had a chance to do anything in the second half. They only had one drive in the third quarter. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, the
tough,
Niners, similar story. No, a little heartbreak last week.
tough couple weeks for both teams here. Yeah, Niners. Fuck, we started off so slow. Devontae and Aaron Rodgers looked unstoppable. Looked like they were gonna have 500 yards combined, and we had a late comeback good start to the second half, and Jimmy G, we had that get everybody off Jimmy's back drive to win the game. 37 seconds left, and what do you know? Anybody but Devontae, and what does he do? He throws like a 30-yard first down, 37 seconds, no timeout, gets another gain, and Crosby hits a 52-yard game winner. Brutal beats for both teams.
Yeah,
But
I
I think
mean,
that makes it a very interesting storyline, adding to everything else surrounding it already.
oh, 100%. Two teams that are in a very close, or not close, but a very competitive NFC West. Like dropping a division game is big for the long term prospects of both teams.
Yeah. I mean, Russ knows the importance, especially this year, of not wanting to go 1-3 to start the season when a division could be really in anybody's hands right now. Niners not wanting to drop two in a row, um, especially at home.
Yeah, this game is setting up pretty good. Uh, I think the Niners. Well, let's go over their injury report. So I'll start with the Seahawks. You can pick it up with the Niners. It's not looking good for the Seahawks, unfortunately. We also saw Tyler Lockett go down. He actually did come back in the game, and the reports that he was going to be okay on Monday. The reports coming out, but Wednesday, so he was limited yet Wednesday, and then today he regressed and didn't practice on Thursday, showing a hip injury, which is kind of different than what we thought, which was a knee injury on game day. And you never that kind of regression going from practice to no practice is never a good thing. Like that has me worried. And then again, we have Brandon Shell, who's been really solid for us at right tackle. He's out. Looks like he's training not to play. They said Rashad Penny probably won't play. And then in limited, we DK Metcalf with a foot injury. That also has me worried. He's showing up late on the. He wasn't on the injury report yesterday, but he's showing up today. Um, if he's also hobbled or for some reason can't play, that'd be terrible. I don't like. I think that really just throws the Seahawks' chances out the window. Also seeing injuries for Puna Ford, Benson Mayoa. I think they probably will both play, but some names I'm not liking on this injury report for the Seahawks. Real worrisome.
A lot of key pieces there that you just don't like to see in any big time game. And Niners in a sort of a similar position. I don't know if they have as many key pieces out, but definitely some big ones. As we already know, George Kittle was dealing with some calf tightness. I think he had a calf strain coming out of last week's game, but Shanahan said there's no concern. He expects him to play. Kinlaw and Mosley, the two biggest names on the defense, battling injuries right now. Kinlaw is battling a knee injury since week one. He played I think week three last week, yeah, and he's trending to play this week. He was doing some work on the side yesterday. He was limited in practice again today, I believe. Yeah, and Emmanuel Mosley, he did play last week after getting injured the week before. He was limited
Mm-hmm.
for the whole week. He's questionable, but he is trending to play as well. I think one of the biggest pieces right now is Elijah Mitchell. The status of him, he hurt his shoulder Um, he hasn't practiced this week yet. Um, they were hopeful that he's going to play, but he's listed as doubtful right now, and I think that would be the biggest issue right now. Eric Armstead, he did not practice yesterday or today, and he's listed as questionable. Although I think I saw it somewhere that
What's his injury? Because Eric would be a pretty big loss.
Armstead, he's got an abductor injury.
Ooh, those are never good.
Let me see if I can find the.
Wait, did he have that coming into last week's game?
Um, yeah, he was battling it. I think he was a full participant today, actually, or yesterday from
Oh, he
Nick
was a
Wagner.
full participant.
Um, getting a little bit of a mixed report here.
Yeah, that would be a big loss in my opinion, just because our right tackle, we started an undrafted free agent last week, who obviously, he's looked good, but I mean, first game, it's bad. And that was going against Daniel Hunter, so if we had Eric Armstead against our undrafted free agent right tackle, I'm pretty worried about that.
Yeah, he was battling it coming into the Eagles game, and I guess he's still dealing with some issues, obviously, as he didn't practice. And yeah, you're right. It'd be a huge loss, especially if Kinlaw is not 100% either. Our D line's a little beat up right now. It seems to always be the case.
True.
And then we also lost Raheem. He's out forever. K'Wan Williams, he hurt himself last game, which was huge, and it's his calf. They expect him to be out a couple of weeks, which I think is actually going to be a key factor. I'll talk about a little bit more, but that's a big one for us. And then Dre Greenlaw is already out for the remainder of the season, I believe.
Yeah, I'm from the one name on that injury report for the Niners that that everyone's saying he's going to play. I'm questionable on is great George Kittle. If he's not practicing, calf strains are pretty tough. I'm curious to even if he plays, what kind of availability he'll be at because I think he is a difference maker. Run blocking and catching the ball. So if he's like at 75%, I think that's a big benefit for the Seahawks there.
Yeah, he has played through injuries in the past, but it has limited him heavily, especially in the passing game. He's mostly been in there as a decoy and a run blocker. But that'll be huge.
Yeah. Another thing I'm curious about. Well, let's transition to some of the matchups. Niners offense versus the Seahawks defense. Obviously, even as a biased fan, I think advantage goes to the Niners offense. But I will say the Seahawks defense, they were getting worked by the Niners in the past couple of years. Not super hard. Obviously, it's been close, but their scheme has been kind of built around stopping these outside zone schemes. So like what the Rams run, they've been struggling to stop them for years. They finally kind of try to adapt. And the Niners, what they kind of run, stopping the run is big for them. So they obviously put more emphasis on that. So I'm curious to how you think this is going to go because the Seahawks corners are obviously their weakest part.
Mm-hmm.
But the Niners passing game, it hasn't been that weak this year, but I think it's, they're notoriously good at running the ball. So it's kind of like a strength for strength. Although, I mean, it's kind of a weird spot for the Niners right now with the way their offense looked last week, I guess.
It's a really weird spot, especially if Elijah Mitchell's out, and I think we saw that last week against the Packers with Trey Sermon trying to get the heavy load. He only got 10 carries, but he only got 31 yards, one of them being a 16-yard carry. They ended up finishing off the game with Kyle Juszczyk, the fullback, the last couple drives, I believe. So obviously Trey Sermon isn't the guy that they had hoped coming into the season. He was a healthy scratch week one, and I think Shanahan knew from the jump he wasn't quite ready yet. But all the injuries to Raheem, Jermichael Hasty, Jeff Wilson, and now Elijah Mitchell is huge. I do like Mitchell. If we have him, I think they're going to be run dominant. I think Shanahan, a part of his game plan every week is to establish that run, that outside zone like you're talking about. But if Trey Sermon can't get going, it'll make it a lot tougher for Jimmy to throw the ball because they'll be able to sit back a little bit more and focus on the passing game. But one thing, like you said, the cornerbacks are not never, but they're not the strength right now of the Seahawks defense. And I think good and bad, the Niners don't really worry about cornerback matchups because they don't have a true number one guy that they're looking to feed the ball to. They run a lot of short passes, a lot of screens, getting the balls and playmakers with a lot of guys that have success yards after the catch. Um, they did open it up a little bit last week in the second half though. Saw some passes to Devo, George Kittle across the middle. Jimmy not as good throwing to the sidelines, so maybe Bobby Wagner in the middle and Jamal Adams can slow that down. But I think, like you said, the key is going to be the run game. If they can establish the run game, they'll find some success, I think. But if not, it's going to be a bit of a struggle.
Yeah, I like that. I like that insight you provided there. The Niners really don't. They don't play like a lot of one-on-one ball with their receivers. I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
it's usually just like they run a ton of underneath stuff in my opinion, like slants,
Mm-hmm.
screens, crossers, just getting their guys out in space, which I
Yeah.
think plays really well into what the Seahawks do because Pete Carroll is predicated on we don't give up the deep ball, and to be fair, against the Vikings, they didn't give up a pass, air yards wise, that was over like 15 yards, I think. Everything
Mm-hmm.
was underneath, and they would get some decent runouts. I mean, they got dominated, but they like to keep everything in front. And that just kind of sets up really well for the Niners, which is really what I'm worried about. So I think going into this matchup, if they don't adjust, if they play like how they are, underneath, giving up like the slants, giving up, those quick routes, then the
Mm-hmm.
Seahawks could be in major trouble on defense, which is kind of why I'm expecting them to kind of switch it up a little bit, play more aggressive, make Jimmy throw those one-on-one balls, make him throw to the sidelines and deep, give him those like press coverage looks, and say, hey, like basically what the Niners were doing in the Packers, like, hey, do you guys Devontae Adams try beat your corner? But
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the Niners have Devontae Adams. At least just challenge him a little bit rather than giving up the easy ones, which they love.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be interesting because the Niners they're not a take a deep shot like every drive type of offense. They're a take what you can get. It's a lot of Shanahan schemes, getting their players open for Jimmy to deliver a ball, and like you said, it's a lot of underneath stuff. And if the Seahawks are giving them that, I mean, they'll gladly take that, and they'll have to adjust somewhat because, like you said, they're not going to be running Debo one-on-one fades down the sideline. That's not what they're
Yeah.
trying to do there. And I think, yeah, like getting to Jimmy under having him under pressure, he's definitely not been the greatest at that, and injuries to Poona Ford, that could be huge, and Alton Robinson today.
Oh, you're right. So that was an addition to the Seahawks injury report. We had Alton Robinson,
Yeah,
so
bit of a
he's been a stud. He has like a, let me look up his grade. I believe it's 90.8 through PFF. In the first couple weeks he didn't play many snaps, but last week he was like 40 snaps or something, and has been solid. But he was kind of filling in for Benson Mayowa, who is hurt, playing that strong side linebacker. So as long as one of them plays, I'm not as worried. But yeah, I think there's room for the 49ers to feast here.
Mhm.
But it depends because they didn't run much last week, and if the Seahawks can slow down their run and just not give up like a 90-yard Debo slant, then I think they can survive.
yeah.
At least control them more than they controlled the Titans or the.
Yeah, I mean, I know we don't have no Derrick Henry, and a huge part of the stats is skewed towards that game. Obviously, he had like 183 rushing yards, but um, the Seahawks defense is giving up 155 rush yards per game. They slowed down Taylor, but against the Titans and was it Dalvin
Viking Madison.
or Madison? Sorry, that's right. They did show some vulnerability.
Yeah, it was
Um,
interesting too because in the first half against Derrick Henry, he was like 22 for 60. So they were really shutting him down. And then in the second half, he busted out that one big one, and then after that, it was just like They
He had a
couldn't
couple of
stop him. They were just so tired.
yeah. I was gonna say they definitely seem tired.
Yeah,
Where
they were
Derek,
so tired.
he just is a machine. So
Both games, Vikings, Titans, both offenses, Vikings and Titans, had over 40 minutes of time of possession. So it was kind of a combination of they were running these long drives. Defense was getting tired. They played like 80 plays against the Titans, and
yeah,
then the Seahawks offense just like would get like one or two drives and they would punt, and then they wouldn't touch the ball for another 10 minutes or something, and it would just like it just spiraled.
yeah, and I think that's another key for the Niners. Like because they don't take those big shots, they don't have those huge like receivers that just go up and make 50-yard one-on-one catches. Uh, they have these scripted drives from the beginning. Like the first three drives are probably all scripted for Shanahan. If they don't get going, um, they don't develop some sort of rhythm. It's
Yep.
going to be hard for them to like uh, score in a flurry. I think what we're getting at though is the key on this side of the ball. Niners offense, saying Seahawks defense will be the run game. Seahawks not statistically great this season, and the Niners known for that run game with Shanahan. So that'll be something to watch out for.
Yep. It'll be interesting to watch that run game. So who's your key guys to watch on that offense? You know that you think they have to play well to win this game.
Um, I mean, it's gonna have to be Trey Sermon. It doesn't sound like Elijah Mitchell is the healthiest right now. Um, I think Trey's gonna have to be able to handle a little bit of a heavier load. I do think Shanahan is creative, and because I don't think he fully trusts Trey yet, you're gonna see a handful of carries to Debo, some to Ayuk, and like they do a lot of jet sweeps, a lot of end arounds. Even Kittle is taking a few end arounds, which is pretty cool. Um, but just those guys being able to make plays in the run game, I think is going to be a critical factor.
Yeah, and for me for the defense, um, I gotta see good play out of Jamal Adams. I mean, I will say he's been really solid. They've been blitzing him a lot less, so he hasn't got the gaudy sack numbers he had last year. Which depends how you look at it, right? Like if he's
Mhm.
covering well, then they don't like if our rush is good, we don't need him to blitz. So his job is to play. But I think he has a big role this week because, as you said, they're gonna run the ball, and Jamal Adams is big in stopping the run and fitting that run. So he's got to make some plays. He's got to come downhill and hopefully get in the backfield. I think if he's making plays, it'll be good for the Seahawks D.
I think
If
to
he's popping off the screen, yeah.
the Seahawks' advantage, they have been their D line play has been pretty good, especially with what's it called, Alton Robinson stepping up. So they have had Jamal just not blitz as much, like you said, but he has been making plays in the run game and being able to cover a little bit more instead of like just being inside the box the whole time.
Yeah, so that'll be big. Obviously, the D line needs to play well, but we'll see if they're even healthy. We'll see.
Yeah. So flipping sides, other side, Saint. I keep saying the Saints. Seahawks offense versus Niners defense. A little bit of similar situation for the Niners. They're still bottom 10 in rush yards allowed per game. They're giving up 122
Wow.
per game, which is not good. So I think Carson's going to be a factor. We talked about K1, solid corner being out. What do you look for on the offensive side of the ball?
Yeah, so the biggest thing I'm worried about is the health for our receivers because I think the Niners have shown to be very vulnerable on the outsides. You guys are starting like a rookie who, I mean, he hasn't been terrible, but he's been pretty bad, I'd say. And then who's the other guy you guys starting on the edge
So
now?
actually,
Or is it Norman? Huh?
Emmanuel Mosley's played
Oh
100%.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, he had a pretty good game. I mean, Devontae's Devontae. That's tough, but they have shown vulnerability both sides.
Oh yeah. So Matt Mosley's back. I mean Mosley's. I think he's just like an average corner. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Last year, I remember DK kind of stuck it to him in the first game. But if they're not healthy, that's kind of worrisome. The O line. So the interior of our O line hasn't been playing well at all. The tackles have been okay, or actually they've
Yeah,
been super solid, Dwayne and Michelle. But it'll be interesting to see if we can run the ball. I don't know like how. I'm surprised the Niners are struggling so much in stopping the run. Maybe I don't know. Maybe their D line is weak behind Kinlaw right now without Kinlaw in there, or maybe Kinlaw's not that great at stopping the run. A little surprising with Nick Bosa and Arik out there. And I thought it was the best linebacker in the league, but I mean he's plays for the Seahawks, so something's out there if they're really struggling in run defense.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say so. Fred, his strength is definitely coverage.
Yeah, that's true. He's a cover guy for the.
He's not bad in the run game, but he's definitely not like the elite run stoppers as far as linebackers go. He gets a lot of his success in the passing game and coverage.
That's fair.
And Bosa, he came in as a pass rusher. They're supposed Kinlaw, like we drafted him for that Defos like replacement. Obviously, not even close to the same. But that's a conversation for another time. But yeah, like with Greenlaw out too, it's been a little tough. We've had Aziz Al-Shadir step in, and then Samson Ebukam, who we picked up from the
Rams guy.
He comes in a little bit more last week, but he comes in more off the edge in pass rushing situations. We've been a little susceptible to the run. I wouldn't say we have the best run stoppers. But I actually think the key is going to be Lockett this game. And I know you said he got downgraded to like did not practice, right?
Yeah, that's worrisome. Like
that's very concerning. But with K1 out, if he plays, look for him to have a huge game. I know DK went off the first game, but I think for the most part we've actually held him in check pretty well. I just want to read you some stats when Lockett is playing versus K1 versus when he's out. So over the past 4 games that they've played against each other where K1's been healthy, Lockett's been targeted 4 times for 3 catches, 26 yards, no touchdowns. 6 catches on 7 targets for 51 yards and a touchdown. 4 catches for on 5 targets for 33 yards, no touchdowns. And the one game that Lockett played without K1 in the last 4, he had 12 catches for 14 targets for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns.
That was like the Week 16 game last year, yeah.
Yeah. So obviously K1 has been able to slow him down a little bit. And Lockett, like this season, he's already had like what he does, like 50-yard bombs, like just wide open, getting open in space. And if K1's not there, I'm a little worried if it's going to be Josh Norman or if it's going to be Diamador or rookie.
So who do you guys play in nickel?
I
mean, he plays outside too, so he moves around, obviously.
Yeah. We actually just picked up we just signed someone, Buster Skrine.
Oh yeah, I saw that from the Bears, dude. He was bad. He was so bad.
I think they're planning on using him in the slot because
he's like 34 or something.
We don't have a true slot corner right now. I think Diamador has gone a little in the slot. He actually hasn't been terrible this season. I mean, the Niners just love to run like straight up one-on-one with their corner receiver matchups, regardless of if it's Davante Adams, which makes no sense to me. Like only in the red zone did they send like help over for with a Tart or Jimmy Ward, but like there was so many instances where it's like, dude, we're gonna get burned here. Like the back shoulder was open.
Yeah, that
like,
back shoulder. Yeah, the lady looks so free. I was like, what are you guys doing?
Mosey like had a couple good plays, but for the most part, him and Lenore, they couldn't get their heads turned around, and it was just
so
free for like the whole time. So Lockett, he scares me if he plays. If it's Buster Skrine, God knows this, or a rookie, like he just had like some tough matchups already, and that's going to be, I think, the key factor to me. Like, I don't know why, but for some reason, DK, he had a monster first game, I think, against us, and then for the most part after that, he hasn't like blown up. It's been Lockett that's been it.
Yeah. Well, last year it was like DK dominated. He had like 12 for 150 and 2 touchdowns, I think. The first game, and the second game was like all Lockett. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how it is sometimes. Like it's like one guy will go off, and the other guy will not do much. But I think so. If Tyler Lockett plays, that's obviously good. If he doesn't play, or regardless of if he plays, we have Dwayne Eskridge, who is our 2nd-round pick, coming back, and he got some snaps in the first game. He took a few of these end arounds. He's fast. He runs like 4.3.
Yeah.
So I think that's something to watch out for because we haven't really had that lateral speed in a while. because they don't run Tyler Lockett on those things. They don't want him getting hurt.
Yeah.
He also just like goes down at anything.
Mhm.
But D Wayne, he might be coming back, and he's something that could be like in somewhat of an X factor. He's not going to kill the Niners, but he could make a few plays. It'll
Yeah.
be interesting to see how they use him, especially if Tyler Lockett's out. I'd be really sad if he's out, but it'll be interesting to see how these guys step up.
Yeah, especially because it's not like the normal Seahawks offense, like running these end arounds, getting guys open just to like
Yeah,
get.
that's new. Yeah.
So they could catch the Niners sleeping a little. I think the Niners have been pretty good on like screens and end rounds, just with
Well, the Rams ran it like
Fred,
every play. That's why.
yeah, Fred and Greenlaw. Well, Greenlaw's out, but they've got speed, and they've been able to like sniff out those screens and like those kind of end around plays. But every once in a while, like you could catch them sleeping for sure, and you get that edge. And like you said, he's like a what 4.3 something guy.
Yeah, he's like 4.3. He's fast. He's small, fast. He's like a Tyler Lockett
Yeah,
player.
I agree.
Obviously,
I
not
mean,
his ability, but
and then obviously Russ is just always the key factor in any game. I think our D line has to win. We've done flashes, but the last like two drives maybe the I don't know if the Packers O line their pass pro is I think is excellent,
well,
but we get any pressure at all.
yeah. So what I read like in a preview for this game is that last week the Packers are just getting rid of the ball super quick. And I think it was partially because Davante Adams was getting open so quick, so that helped. And they ran like a lot of like outside screens and stuff, or like quick passes, and that really helped neutralize their pressure. So I expect the Seahawks to do that because their right tackle is not going to start, and their interior has been not great.
Yeah,
So if they don't do that, I think they're going to get struggle.
yeah, and like the Niners have adopted like a similar defensive sheet from what like I guess the boom started when especially since Salah came over. And
Yeah,
even though he left, it's still a similar defense where they kind of give up the short stuff, try to limit the big plays, which they kind of haven't been doing. But I mean, once you let Russ extend the play, if you have Lockett and DK running around, you can't cover them for 4 seconds in just a scramble situation. So the D line, we're gonna have to win, especially if the interior line's a little banged up.
yeah.
I
I
want
think
to see.
that I think
Uh,
I think there's going to be a few sacks on the Seahawks where they try to run like a longer developing play, and the O line just isn't going to hold up. And they're going to do that because that's part of our offense, right? Like taking these deep shots. I just think there's opportunity for sacks. The one thing I'm worried about is, Russell Wilson. He starts off so well, interception wise, and then actually, I mean, he just doesn't throw many picks, and I know it's coming because he's not perfect, and I just
yeah,
don't. I'd hate for it to be in this game, but the clock is ticking. Like he's not gonna not throw a pick.
yeah.
So I'm just. It's
We'll
always
see.
brutal because he's so clean with the ball. Like you never expect to pick it when he does. It usually is like a pick six or something terrible, or like it's always like at the worst time.
I mean, the game we went to, the last one we went to, the Seahawks came to
Oh yeah,
Levi's,
that was a wild one.
and he was having a great game, and then he just threw a
No,
kind of
he
he
threw
kind
it. Did he have two picks that game or just that one pick?
he might have had two, but I'm just thinking of the one in overtime, which was
Yeah,
just it was kind of a little not Russ like. They just randomly it was like a gift.
yeah. I mean that was basically win the game. He thought he had Will Disley on that wheel.
Yeah, it wasn't really there. I was
It
surprised.
wasn't there. It looked like
Yep.
it could have been there before Will Disley cut up, but then Dre Greenlaw just I think it's Dre, yeah. He
Yeah,
just played it so well, and then yeah, the ball was not good. That was bad. I'm
and I think
not.
that
He
if
makes
we
timely picks.
if we could force any turnover, that'd be huge. Jimmy has been known to throw some errant passes. Oh, I also want to note, like, I mentioned Debo Ayuk getting some interesting, like, creative carries. I think we might see more of Trey Lance in this game.
Oh,
Um,
that's what I've been hearing.
if we can establish the run, in any way. I don't think Shanahan's ever opposed. And we saw that 4th and goal. We brought in Trey Lance to have a nice like little read option QB power kind of run. Um, and if Trey Sermon's not going and we can't really get the run game going, I think why not give it a shot?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. And there hasn't been much. I
mean,
think the Seahawks will probably prepare for the possibility of that. I want to see like him get in there and try to throw the ball. Because if they're just gonna run read option, I think it's not gonna do it very well.
I don't think they're gonna have him throw very much, just because having him coming to being cold is definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. Um, any other key thoughts you have?
I guess for the Seahawks offense, I'm expecting them to try to attack these corners, which we kind of discussed. I want to see how they come out, though. Obviously, this game is always super fiery. I think the Niners, Levi will probably be pumping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, it's the first time I think since 2019 where we had the week 17
Oh, yeah, up in Seattle.
the goal line. Other than
6 inches.
yeah, last year, um, we were at the helm of. Jimmy played the first game, like the first 2 quarters, but he had a lingering ankle injury which flared up. We caused him to come out. I don't think it would have made the whole difference if he stayed in. We were already down, but the second game we had CJ Beathard playing, and we just haven't had like our whole offensive arsenal with Kittle being out or Debo being out. So I'm excited to see like at least passing game wise what we can do.
Yeah, and I'm hopeful the Seahawks defense or the Seahawks offense will not be in the same scenario where they're just hurting bad.
Yeah, it just seems like this game on both sides of the ball, it's just making out to be a really good game, a really close game, like a last possession kind of thing to me. Where I don't know, you have both run defense giving up a lot right now, and then on like the Seahawks offense, you have Tyler Lockett and DK, these big play guys. So it's up to the Niners D line to get to the ball. Don't leave the corners on an island, and then on the other side, it's like, oh, the Seahawks corners aren't the best right now. So them getting to Jimmy, putting him under pressure for Bobby to play multiple plays,
Yeah,
really huge. So
yeah. One thing I didn't mention is I think there's a possibility that we see Sidney Jones, who we traded for, come in instead of Trey Flowers. But obviously the Seahawks, they're like Pete Carroll's, they're not going to reveal any of that stuff intentionally, obviously. But we'll see. We'll see Sunday morning who's starting for the Seahawks on the outsides. I think it might be different. I think there's a chance.
I think it could make a difference. You're obviously not the biggest fan of Trey Flowers, as a lot of people.
Not. Yeah, I mean, people give him honestly more hate than I think he's fair. But he's just not a good corner. We already knew that. He's just not good.
But it might be in his favor where the Niners don't take these deep shots.
Yeah, I would say he would definitely. I think he could definitely do better this week than against like Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
And Adam Thielen, or even like AJ Brown. I just feel like they're different kind of receivers.
Yeah. Well, I hope
and
that we
Julio
go
Jones.
after, a little bit more. I think Debo's coming around to be a solid receiver. He had some tough catches against Jair last week.
He did have that nice one.
But it'll be interesting. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't want to bet on it. I know you've got the Seahawks +3 ride or die homer pick.
Yeah, I said I didn't mention it, but I said in my notes this is the last time I'm gonna pick the Hawks this year if they lose. I think tough. Honestly I think this is a better matchup. Like completely unbiased, just because the Seahawks have struggled against like Kirk Cousins, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, and Ryan Tannehill, AJ Brown, Julio Jones. Julio Jones ate him up. Like, I just don't think Jimmy G, Debo, and Brandon Ayuk, or even if it's not Brandon Ayuk, just aren't at the same level wide
Yeah,
receiver and quarterback play. So
this one's definitely going to be a scheme versus scheme coaches battle. Like,
yeah, it'll
can
be on the
Chad
defense. But
or can the Seahawks D lock them up? 'Cause, they're the guys they're dangerous in space. You get them the ball and they can break it off.
yeah, it's got me worried. It got me worried.
But on the other end, DK and Lockett can score from anywhere. You get one move, you're in the end zone. So
Oh yeah, so like I haven't actually locked in the money on that. In which case I'm gonna be keeping an eye on the report tomorrow because if Tyler's out, I might not even do it. But if yeah, I don't think both of them will sit out. But if Tyler's out, that's very
if the
sketchy to
Niners
me.
only have to focus on DK or Lockett, that's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
I
because
mean,
Dwayne has been out like the last 3 weeks or two
yeah,
weeks, it's not gonna be like Tyler Lockett. Honestly, is more important than DK. I think just because Russ trusts him more underneath.
me too.
But
He,
they're both good, so.
from outside, he has a lot more versatility in the offense. That's for sure.
Yeah, if Tyler's out, they're just gonna force the ball to DK, who he'll probably win some, but we'll see like how the
He wins
49ers
some,
adapt.
but um, and I can't remember all the games. He did have a really big game, like you said, but he had a couple where he was a little quiet, and I think
Well, yeah, I mean in 2019 that was his rookie year. The Niners, that's when the Niners defense were peaking, so he wasn't. I think he's gotten a lot better since his rookie year, and he definitely got shut down
yeah,
one of those games.
yeah.
Um,
But as
but
far as like deep cuts go, I think if Lockett's not there, you can send help from like Ward or Tart his way, and hopefully,
yeah, it's not good. It's not good if Tyler's not there. Not
yeah,
good. All
I
right,
think Lockett's gonna have a huge game if he plays.
let's do predictions and player of the game.
Predictions like score.
Yeah, give me your score prediction and who's the player of the game. Who carried? I assume the Niners are gonna pick to victory.
Yeah, I mean I got to roll with the home team here. Score. Ooh, I do think it's gonna be high scoring. I think both defenses are giving up some points right now. Um, I gotta go Niners. Let's go 31-28 Niners. Push on the spread. Cover.
Wow,
Over.
31-28.
Player of the game.
Yeah, who's
I'm
who,
gonna
who's
go,
carrying him?
player of the game. I think I'm gonna go with the boy George. I think
Wow, even though he hasn't even practiced.
yeah, he was been quiet the first couple weeks. Last week he had a solid outing. They're gonna look to get him the ball more. I think you have to. Like he's your best playmaker, and against in this type of game, you need plays, and he's gonna be the guy to get it there.
Yeah, I will say George Kittle actually has struggled against the Seahawks in every game he's played recently, and I don't know if it's just like situational.
He's been hurt in some of them.
Yeah, I don't know if it's situational, but I don't think he's had more than like 60 yards. He hasn't had a touchdown. Um, so I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna switch that up. Obviously, we got the Seahawks winning. I think this is a must win.
Must win.
This is a must win for the Seahawks, especially with the Rams coming up next week. So this is a must win. Seahawks 27-24, a little lower scoring than yours. I think it's a late drive by Russell Wilson to win it. And MVP's it's got to be Russ, to be honest. Like if we're winning this game, it's gonna be a Russ. And I will say I was surprised. I feel like if Niners score 31 and they win, I think it's got to be Jimmy G. He's gonna have to have a game. Like I don't know how. If he doesn't play well, I don't think the Niners can win.
No, I mean I think well, first to what you were saying, I think it's got to be Russ. Russ is going to be the X factor. If you have both Lockett and DK, it's still going to be Russ making the plays down the stretch. I think it's going to be a last possession game. I think it's
For
whoever has the
sure,
ball.
last possession game.
It's
For
going to come down
sure.
to last possession. Either it's going to be a score to win, or it's going to be a stop to end it. But I think Jimmy he can play well. He's
Just not
average.
be like explosive, you know.
He's averaged over 250 a game this season, and it's been quiet. He's limited the turnovers. He had that one pick
Mm-hmm.
last week against the Packers. It was a deep shot to Kittle. It was actually a nice ball. I think it was Darnell Savage. He made a really good
It
play
was
on it.
Jer. It was Jer.
I was
He
there.
came
He
from the
made a
other
really,
side, yeah.
Yeah, it was a really nice play. I don't necessarily blame Jimmy for that one, although there's a lot that you do blame him for. Um, but I mean, if he doesn't turn over the ball and he goes like 21 for 27 for 250 and 2 touchdowns, then yeah, I mean, he might be the most valuable just by not turning it over.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I actually agree. I think there's a way where he plays really well, but he doesn't do anything crazy. It's like short passes that get like he's not
Jimmy's
blowing anything
there.
out of the water.
It's different from Russ's situation. Russ is there, he's winning them games, whereas Jimmy's there like to get the job done.
He
He's there.
gets the ball in the hands of the
He puts
playmakers.
the guy in. Yeah, he puts the ball in the position for the other guys to make plays.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. I'm
It's gonna be a fun
excited.
Sunday. What time's the game? Is it the
One
four
o'clock.
1 o'clock
I
slate?
checked the weather actually. It's supposed to be 88 on Sunday in Santa Clara. It's gonna be hot.
I'd say that's better than rainy. That
Better than rainy, but 88's pretty warm.
form.
It'll be
I
it'll
mean,
be fun. Huh?
that's the 10 a.m. start time then for them.
No, 1 p.m. Pacific.
1 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah, I mean
Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry,
it's in Levi.
I
Yeah.
was asking if it was the 4:30 like afternoon slate for the
Oh, you're
Eastern.
on the Eastern time, huh? That's the worst, dude. I would not want to be Eastern,
Oh,
personally.
dude, I'm on the opposite. I think I really like being on the Eastern clock.
Really, I think 10 o'clock is perfect. I think
All
waking
right.
up,
What
I can
about
like
okay?
eat breakfast, relax. ten
What about
o'clock.
Hawaii time versus Eastern time?
Yeah, Hawaii time I don't like. You're right. Hawaii time is a struggle, but I will
Waking
say
up at
during
7 a.m.
daylight
is
savings,
brutal.
during daylight savings it's better. Like eight
Not that
o'clock.
bad.
8 o'clock's bad. 7 o'clock it's a struggle to wake up because I want to
Yeah,
watch.
yeah, it's
I want
tough.
to
You're
watch.
kind of and you're just like loopy.
But
Not
the
really
thing
into
about
it.
East Coast is your night games are legit night games. Like they're starting at eight
I actually like
twenty. I don't know. I kind of like my time after the games to like relax. Like imagine watching a late night game goes till midnight. You got to work the next day.
if
That's
I had to
tough.
if I had to
And you're like lit. You're gonna be
if I
dead.
in my ideal situation, I would agree Pacific time for the times that the games are played is ideal. The late night, the Sunday night, Monday night coming at was it 5:20?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Perfect. That's
Yeah.
perfect. I agree. Right, you get off work
You get off work. You can
and
like
you
go to
don't
the
have to.
bar, like drink, eat during the
Yeah.
game.
Whereas here it's
Perfect.
like 8:20. Oh, game gets a little tight down the stretch, extends a little bit. Oh, it's midnight.
Yeah, it's so late. It's so late. And you
But
want to
it'll
watch the
be fun.
games, but
Huge week for the division in general, too.
yeah, I think we're gonna have to recap this game and the Cardinals game. Don't the Niners play the Cardinals or the Rams next week?
Let me look that up actually.
I think they play one of them. I'm pretty sure they do.
Yeah, we got the Cardinals at Arizona the
Yeah,
week
so
after.
it's 2 weeks of division games, and I think we'll learn a lot. We'll learn a lot. Um,
Yeah.
who comes out on
Wait,
top?
the Seahawks have the Rams next week?
Thursday night Rams.
Oh, short week.
Yeah, it's kind of brutal for the Seahawks, or I guess for the Rams too.
I
Um,
think I think both ways. Yeah.
it's at home though, so
I mean,
that'll be electric.
we discussed on the responsible bet, but this isn't going to be no cakewalk for the Rams either.
No, I think they'll win though,
I think they'll win too.
and I think the Rams will definitely be favored against the Seahawks, but you never know. I don't see the Seahawks winning that, but
I
you
looked
never
ahead
know.
to the line for the 49ers game, and the Cardinals are favored by 2.5 at home right now, or what it opened at yesterday.
So it's in Arizona.
Yeah, I don't know what the Seahawks line's at.
That's
I
probably.
didn't know
If I had to
yeah,
guess, it's probably like 5.
yeah,
Nah, maybe like 3 because it's in Seattle.
mhm.
Rams laying 3, so basically like 5 or 6 point favorite. But I think if the Seahawks win this week, that'll drop. Obviously.
Say if might be some good value here. The Rams duke it out and like maybe get a little banged up in a close one. Seahawks win this week. That line's gonna drop.
Yeah, I just wouldn't want to take the bet regardless.
Yeah,
I think the Rams.
it's so
There's
tough
a lot
betting
of
on.
scenarios where the Rams cover 3. even on the
Yeah,
road.
yeah, it's tough. I agree, but we'll see. I guess.
If Jalen Ramsey gets hurt, then pick me the Seahawks underdog right there.
Has he played well against DK in the past?
He has, and he makes their secondary so much stronger because everyone else can kind of just play around him.
They just worry on the other side. Yeah.
Um, yeah, he just makes their scheme way stronger. Obviously, Aaron Donald, but yeah, that guy's invincible, and he's also just. I'm not even convinced he would be that much better if Aaron Donald wasn't playing.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait for this game, and hopefully we get a recap with Little Dog too.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go over it.
We'll have to
Someone will
recap.
be a little salty.
Someone's gonna be salty for sure. We'll have a recap. We'll recap maybe a little of the other divisional game.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
That's gonna be
All right, yeah. Let's wrap it up then.
yeah.
So yeah, Monday night we'll do the recap. Tune in. Maybe we might even have the reaction for the Seahawks Niners game Sunday, which we did last week, or probably Tuesday if not. Will probably be me, Yosh, and Allah hopping on for that one. And then again Thursday night, a responsible bet.
Responsible
Tune
bet.
in, baby.
Let's go.
Peace.